home. They are once again on the road, as they have been for most of the months of November and December. And tonight, a visit to JPJ and the Wahoos. Virginia, the home orange tonight. Georgia Tech will travel in the blues this evening. It's Cameron Taylor for Virginia, Caleb Blackshear for Georgia Tech. We are underway as the tip bounces all around and eventually taken by Tony Morgan of Georgia Tech. Here are the Yellow Jackets with Swartz. Her first shot of the night is up and good, and we're going to see plenty of that. Mac, she is unafraid to pull from just about anywhere.
She takes tough shots and makes tough shots. That was not a tough one.
It was about as clean of a look as we would expect Virginia's defense to give Swartz all night long, at least if their defense is on point. But she is certainly one of the better shooters in the conference. Taylor on the drive, left it short. And here come the Yellow Jackets the other way.
They really want to run more than they have in the past. They're more athletic, and we'll get into some of the personnel changes. They've had a lot of new faces out there.
Absolutely. Blackshear on the follow-up effort. She was bumped and fouled. And it's going to be free throws for Caleb Blackshear as the foul goes against Mir McLean. And that is not what Coach Mox wanted to see, is a very early and quick foul for McLean. As I mentioned, Virginia, last time out, Coach, the loss to Duke, foul trouble was the biggest issue.
For Taylor and McLean, they didn't play but 34 minutes combined. And McLean really needs to adjust now and take care of herself and not get herself in any further foul trouble. We talked about Blackshear. You talked about her on the offensive glass. She's their leading rebounder and getting a start here tonight for the first time.
Yeah, given what she's done on the boards, she has earned her way into the starting lineup tonight. She started the first 4 games of the year, has been coming off the bench ever since, but she is back in the starting lineup here this evening, as it had been Aaliyah Love, a regular in the starting lineup for the last 8 games. Expect to see her sooner rather than later off of the bench for Nell Fortner.
Yeah, one of 2 returning starters along with Nerea Hermosa.
Another player now coming off the bench for Georgia Tech. Here's Valladay pulling up from 3 and banks that one in to even up our score at 3. Or is it a deep 2 for Valladay? Beg your pardon, a deep 2 to pull Virginia back within 1. Look at the starters for Georgia Tech. We mentioned the one change. Blackshear gets the starting nod tonight. But Swartz, Morgan, Jackson, and Won Adanaz, 4 regulars. Traveling violation. Turnover to give it back to the Hoos.
Yeah, we mentioned Love and Hermosa not starting. Both the returning starters from last year not in that lineup, and their production has fallen off. Now they're missing Kubai and Lottman, who were great players a year ago, but they both need to start producing for Coach Fortner to get this team where they need to get to.
Cameron Taylor backing down, and then the turnaround is up and good. Nice little move from Cameron Taylor to put Virginia in front by a point for the first time tonight.
Such a talented player, and every night going against bigger, taller players.
Here's the impressive freshman Tony Morgan for Georgia Tech. Now Swartz defended tightly by Alexia Smith. Swartz on the awkward pull-up off the back of the rim, and McLean has the rebound. And a traveling violation against McLean will give it back to Georgia Tech now. A couple of early turnovers for both sides, and you got to think that nervous energy, Mac, when you've got a while between games, teams are certainly ready to be back at it.
Yeah, and neither one of these teams wants to go 0-2 in league play either. They've got big games coming up. Virginia in particular, 3 ranked teams coming up on the schedule right away with Virginia Tech, NC State, and North Carolina.
It is quite the welcome back to dive headlong into ACC play. Another turnover, and Georgia Tech already getting back in defensive transition, and looked like Miller just lost it off her foot and out of bounds.
Yeah, and that's another thing that there was a problem against Duke for Virginia, turning the basketball over. Coach Mox seemed most upset about the fact that they just didn't share the basketball. Only 5 assists, which is very rare for this Virginia team.
Some of these sort of unforced error turnovers, Mac, you got to think that might have something to do with the holiday break. Because, again, it's not just time away from games. You've got a week between games at various points throughout every season, but the time away from basketball altogether is somewhat of a rarity. Jump ball gives it back to the Hoos. Valadie, nice rip and go down the left side. There's Taylor to clean it up.
Virginia, we talked about it in the open. A great offensive rebounding team.
Led by Mir McLean, who is on the bench very early because of that quick foul. Another Georgia Tech turnover will give it back to UVA.
I like taking her out. That wouldn't be normally what you do, but coming off a game where she did have some foul trouble and had limited minutes, I think let her set, let her watch a little bit, and then slip her back in the game.
Also, maybe give a chance for one of the assistants to give her that verbal reminder about adjusting to the whistles.
No question.
You said it best. All of us coaches are control freaks to a certain extent.
We're a paranoid bunch, no question.
Here is Smith getting the nod tonight. Pull up from the ACC logo wouldn't go. I know you're a big fan of Alexia Smith's game. Transfer from Minnesota, who led the team with 11 points last time out against Duke. And even in that loss, she impressed and earns the start tonight. Good defense by Taylor to poke it away.
Yeah, Smith is a good defender, but she gives him an extra ball handler. And after that 19 turnover performance, I'm sure that was on Coach Mox's mind, too.
Bianca Jackson. And from the corner, the pull-up from Dunn missed everything. Freshman Kara Dunn into the game and missing on her first attempt. Here is Smith, open from the corner. That is perfect. And Virginia's lead is 9-3 early on the three ball from Alexia Smith.
A change in the starting lineup, paying dividends early.
Both of these teams that have struggled to shoot it from beyond the three-point line, and a timeout necessary here for Nell Fortner. Jackson trapped. Well, here JPJ, Virginia, the early 9-3 lead over the visiting Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And a Virginia team looking to answer back from that loss at Duke a little over a week ago. And the early strong shooting start will certainly help, Matt.
Yeah, and if you can get them in transition, like the three-point shot by Alexia Smith, or on the offensive glass like Cameron Taylor, your percentage will go up.
And this has been a positive theme all season, as you see, Coach. Just shooting the basketball a lot better. You talked about Alexia Smith. Here she is on the steal, but can't finish with the layup. Good hands from Carol Miller, though, to retain possession for Virginia.
Another second chance opportunity for Virginia.
Well, you said Smith can give them a little bit of a defensive spark. How about this post-to-post look from Brunel, finding London Clarkson for the easy finish?
No, really good passer and a good back cut coming off the bench for London Clarkson.
Well, again, it was Smith that earned that possession for Virginia with the steal, and defense took a little while, but eventually turning into some offense for the Hoos, who have stretched it out to an 8-point lead. And you see Georgia Tech has gone cold from the floor. Dunn on the drive. Too strong. And it looked like Hermosa was going to track down the rebound. Smith and Swartz collide. And Swartz comes away with it. Now launching from three. Hermosa the offensive rebound. Now Jackson wants a three. Too strong. Again, neither of these teams known for their three-point prowess. Both struggle from beyond the arc.
Yeah, and then you throw on top of that good defensive teams, too.
Clarkson draws the double and draws the foul on Hermosa. Back-to-back good looks from Clarkson down low for Virginia. And here's McLean back onto the floor for Virginia after a few minutes of rest, after that initial and quick foul that she drew. And now the first free throw for Clarkson, a little strong. Well, every Sunday afternoon we have women's basketball on ACC Network and the ESPN app. This week the game started at noon Eastern, and next week it's the same, but we're featuring these two, Haley Van Lith and Louisville. They've won 5 straight. They host Pitt at 2 Eastern. Then it's the matchup of the day between number 5 Notre Dame and number 13 UNC. Sunday afternoons are for women's basketball on ACC Network. Bianca Jackson on the pull-up. That's good from the elbow extended.
That's
much
more
needed
like
bucket for Georgia Tech.
That's more like the Bianca Jackson that we've seen in her Florida State career and what they expected when she transferred from Florida State to Georgia Tech.
Well, it was a bounce-back game for Jackson last time out against Furman, putting up 21 points to lead the way.
Yeah, after going scoreless up in Chestnut Hill, right?
It was a tough game for the Yellow Jackets to open up ACC play in that loss to Boston College. But Jackson, who's going to be called for the carry here, such a dynamic talent, and particularly scorer we know she can be, but held scoreless in that game against Boston College, and it was good to get her extended minutes and also plenty of points in the box score in that win over Furman.
Just 14 points away from 1,000 for her career. Started at South Carolina, went to Florida State, now at Georgia Tech.
There are a couple of standouts who have been well-traveled in their careers, leading the way for Georgia Tech. Good lead feed from Jackson to find Dunn, but couldn't finish the acrobatic layup. Mir McLean rips down the rebound.
Mir McLean went from being on the floor on the other end to rebounded it on the defensive end.
And a player down for Virginia, Carol Miller, took a shot, and officials are going to take a timeout for the injured player down behind the play.
There was a lot of action on the offensive glass that time with the Kira Dunn missing the shot in transition, missing the layup.
Coach Mox and athletic trainer Lydia Johnson tending to Miller. Another look as it unfolded. And caught a stray elbow there from Blackshear. Obviously completely unintentional, but that will sting nonetheless.
A good, solid veteran player, can do a lot of different things, can make the open three, good defender, can play multiple positions.
Boy, talk about a player riding it out too to bear the fruit now for Miller in her 4th year at Virginia, and this turnaround that Virginia is enjoying. I would guess nobody in the roster more so than Carol Miller.
No question, after a total of 10 wins the last 2 seasons, she has seen it all.
Kara Dunn going to be called for the travel. Some sloppy play early on for Nell Fortner's team here, Coach. That's the 6th turnover for the Yellow Jackets already, with less than 7 minutes gone by.
And a timely timeout by Nell kept it from being 8.
Yeah. Now Devon into the game for Virginia, bringing it up the floor. And Lawson, the aggressive charge. It will be a blocking foul, but now Lawson is down and in a bit of pain.
That's a nice set play that Virginia runs out of the high 1-4. They throw it to the post, clear the other post out, and let the post go with the strong right hand. That time Larkson beat her man off the dribble. A collision near the rim sent her to the floor. McKenna Dale checking in for her. Got a good first step there. Defense is in a bad spot.
Looked like as she tried to reach with that left foot a little bit to stride around the defender, she caught maybe the help side defender's foot, and it looked like she wasn't really able to get the push she expected.
You see that all the time, stepping on somebody else's foot being the subject of an injury. Rolled ankles.
And again, we will see if Lawson will be able to continue on to take the free throws for herself or if there will be an injury substitution. But Virginia does have free throws upcoming. And obviously, if you're Coach Mox, consecutive possessions you've had a player go down. Now, it looks as though a couple of positives here. One, that Lawson able to walk off on her own power. And a round of applause from the Virginia crowd as well. Also, during that sequence, Carol Miller rejoined her teammates on the bench and back in the huddle.
Virginia is a deep team. They play 11 almost every single night.
Yep.
McKenna Dale, who is a good free throw shooter, will substitute and I would imagine take these free throws.
Quite a way to enter a ball game, though. Your first action heading straight to the foul line.
Yeah.
And you hope that she took plenty in warm-ups.
She answered the bell.
She was, when we were sitting here getting ready, Coach, she was the very first player out on the floor shooting. So
she was for a long time.
1 of 2 from the line. And the rebound to Morgan for Florida State. Or, excuse me, for Georgia Tech. Was going to say Morgan, who is interesting when you go to Florida State High School, but wow, shot erased there by McLean. That one went about 5 rows deep.
She's so athletic and so explosive defensively. Wow.
Emphatic block from Mir McLean. And you see what McLean has meant to this team, and understandably when she is only able to stay on the floor for limited action, as was the case against Duke, a season-low 16 minutes, the team will struggle as a result as well. That's a lot to fill. Bianca Jackson, meanwhile, starting to fill it up early, her second bucket.
Nice execution right there. Virginia plays a little zone, shows zone on the baseline out of bounds, so they didn't have a real man responsibility there. Then they match up and play man-to-man. Georgia Tech found the hole in the defense that time.
Whistle on a foul away from the ball. And that is on Bianca Jackson. And that is her first.
Jackson's a really good athlete, but that's a tough matchup going against McLean.
Yanta Vaughn. First year from Maryland, backing away. Now with inside of 10 to shoot. She will pull. Off the back iron, no good. Scrum for the rebound ends up in the hands of McKenna Dale. So Virginia with a fresh possession here.
Dale's been more aggressive defensively and on the boards this season than she was a year ago.
Time winding down to the shot clock for Virginia. Vaughn gives back to Brunell, who's going to have to make something happen. Hoists it up and gets it to drop.
It's an experience, partner.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
The nearly hometown girl. This is good awareness right here. Don't have time to shut fake, up and under. You gotta love the excitement.
She knew it all along, right? That's what that face was.
Yeah.
Never in doubt.
That face meant she was as surprised as we were. Another turnover for Georgia Tech.
Well, after that bucket, there was a stoppage, and I believe they announced a delay of game warning against Virginia. But that also allowed Virginia to get Taylor Valladay back into the game. So, not a terrible trade-off. Mir McLean can't get that to drop. And knocked out of bounds by Clarkson. It'll go back to Georgia Tech. Yellow Jackets struggling to get things going consistently on the offensive end of this opening quarter. There's Morgan on the drive and will draw the second on McLean. And she's going to have to head back to the bench and knows it.
Taylor gets back in the game. Lexi Smith was getting a little treatment on her leg during that little period on the bench, too. Virginia has gone cold, partner. 2 for their last 7.
But as we mentioned, Georgia Tech has continued to turn the ball over. 7 turnovers in this opening quarter, which has allowed Virginia to maintain that separation. How about that? The empty trip to the foul line.
Georgia Tech, the #1 free throw shooting team in the league.
Yeah.
At over 77%.
A rare empty trip. Here's Dale on the pull-up from the foul line. That's good offense there, partner.
Yeah, good screen by Brunel. Got McKenna Dale wide open for the mid-range jumper.
Hermosa on the handoff. Spinning to get it back to Hermosa. And that's good from the foul line. First bucket for Nerea Hermosa, the senior from Spain, one of 3 Spaniards on this Georgia Tech roster.
Yeah, they have a little pipeline.
Taylor spinning around, but traveled with the basketball to give it back to Georgia Tech. Yeah, all 3 of those Spanish players from the same high school program in Spain before. 2 of the 3 came directly to Florida State, or excuse me, to Georgia Tech. I keep making that mistake when talking about the transfers, of which there are plenty on both rosters.
There are.
Look underneath for Hermosa, and that's up and good. Back-to-back buckets for Hermosa. Now the Georgia Tech offense coming to life a little bit at the end of this opening quarter. As you mentioned, Virginia going a little bit cold down the stretch, but a strong stretch there in the middle of our first 10 minutes of play tonight. Cavaliers 16, Yellow.
Seeing their offense with second shots and playing solid defense no matter whether the shots are going in or not. Not everybody does that.
Forcing the 7 Georgia Tech turnovers in the opening quarter. Again, hands in the passing lane there for Cameron Taylor. Bianca Jackson, couple of first quarter buckets. Morgan trying to force it inside, and here's Carol Miller returning to action and comes up with a steal to make it 8 Georgia Tech turnovers.
Good to see Miller back in the game.
Took that shot to the nose in the first quarter, but quick treatment and back out there. Taylor too strong. Rebound for the Yellow Jackets collected by Tony Morgan. Swartz on the pull-up. Drew the foul, and we'll have a couple of free throws coming.
We mentioned she takes tough shots and can make tough shots. Most improved player in the league last year for Boston College. She is coming off the ball screen. Nice job by Taylor contesting the shot. Got a little too aggressive.
First free throw for Swartz is good. Well, tomorrow afternoon, we'll have a college basketball triple header that begins with this game in Pittsburgh at noon Eastern. Caleb Love at number 25, North Carolina, take on Blake Henson and the Panthers at the Peterson Event Center. Should be a great afternoon of hoops on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Unsurprisingly, Cameron Swartz, 2 for 2 for the foul line, shoots about 86% from the free throw line for the season, and has attempted the most free throws of anybody on this Georgia Tech roster. You know, her ability to draw the foul as a jump shooter is actually fairly notable, Coach.
Yeah, I think Cameron Taylor was trying to explain why it was happening. What a great shot by Valadez.
So some acrobatics on the offensive end for each team.
Cameron Taylor, during the free throws, was explaining to the official exactly how that happened. It fell on deaf ears.
Usually does. Nevertheless, I'm sure you tried your hand at that same argument many a time.
I did.
Nice move from Morgan there down the paint for the bucket.
Morgan is a great athlete at 11, 10, and 8. Two assists away from that triple-double at Furman last time out. Really a combo guard, not truly a point guard, not really a shooting guard, but such a good athlete.
Nice little reverse layup there from Miller.
That's what we were talking about, her experience. She can do a little bit of everything. You can plug her in anywhere. Guards anybody, guarding the point guard right now. Now switched off on Swartz.
She steps into a 3, a little strong. And a rebound to Alexia Smith for Virginia. Valadez lines up a 3 and missed everything. Brunel hustling after the rebound, but could not track it down. And possession back to Georgia Tech. You know, it's interesting. You talked about Morgan handling the point despite not being a traditional point guard. And really, the trio of Swartz, Morgan, and Jackson you could argue all three of them who bring the ball up the floor at various times, all kind of in that role.
Yeah, and you can get away with that, but at some point it's nice to have that point guard who really understands what the next possession needs to look like. And all three of them are capable of doing that, but not their natural position.
Sort of like Virginia has found with Taylor Valladay, who, again, is a player that has very much a mind to score, but even still fills more of that traditional point guard role in what you were talking about, with that understanding and appreciation for controlling things on the offensive end.
Yeah, and then Yonta Vaughn comes in, who is that natural point guard who's played it her whole life.
Well, nice round of applause for Caden Lawson as she returns to the floor.
Rubbing her nose a little bit.
And you thought she maybe, like Miller, had taken a shot somewhere to the face, and she and Valladay converge at the scorer's table. With Virginia playing shorthanded there, it's a Georgia Tech turnover to give it back to the Hoos. Valladay was still laying across the scorer's table when that travel was committed.
Good hustle.
We're just lucky that was on the opposite side of the floor.
Yes. And we didn't have an open drink.
Yeah. It's the best thing about having these water bottles with the screw-on caps, right? You can make sure it's not going to spill over your papers. That said, I will admit it's happened to me many a time before.
No.
High post look for Brunel, trying to force it underneath to Smith. Gives it away, and here comes Jackson and Georgia Tech.
She's done a good job of getting back. Georgia Tech's had numbers a few times, but haven't been able to really convert on the fast breaks.
Almost threw it away there. Jackson able to recover. Drew a double team and a late whistle and foul. And they're going to say a shooting foul. And it will be free throws upcoming. They charge it to Valladay there.
Jackson, another good free throw shooter, over 81%.
Well, the ACC network has number 7 Clemson covered in Miami for the Capital One Orange Bowl. Tonight at 10 Eastern, the Huddle Crew will have the latest on the eve of the game. And tomorrow, coverage continues at 6, wraps up after the game against number 6 Tennessee with the ACC Huddles post-game show. Nobody covers the ACC like we do. A 3-point game here, Mac. Georgia Tech, again, that very slow start in the opening quarter, but a little bit down the stretch in the first frame to make things competitive, and right in the thick of things here in the second.
Yeah, it's still not doing a great job on the offensive end, but still playing really hard on the defensive end. And again, we knew that's what Georgia Tech has done for the last several seasons under Nell Fortner.
Frankly, if Georgia Tech can whittle away at the turnover numbers, maybe that would allow them to continue to get back into this thing. Because like you said, the defensive effort has certainly been strong. That one last touch by Smith. 10 turnovers in the game for Georgia Tech as compared to 5 for Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, that's 5 times less that you don't get a shot at the basket.
And a lot of them have been unforced, quite frankly. Obviously, you give credit to Virginia's defensive pressure. Good hustle there from Brunel, but had a foot on the line as she touched the ball.
Freshman with the ball out of bounds. None of the ball handlers have a positive assist-to-turnover ratio for Georgia Tech.
Officials trying to get things ironed out here. And what is a strong crowd here tonight, Coach, awaits the explanation, and now ready to go quickly back to action. Jackson on the cut, had it blocked away by Clarkson. Lawson now into the front court. Had it poked free from behind by Bianca Jackson.
Jackson giveth and taketh away.
Whistle and a foul away from the ball as Hermosa went down, and looks like they got Clarkson.
Yeah, Hermosa was trying to duck in on the backside, a little UCLA cut and a duck in on the backside. And of course, Hermosa has such good size. Clarkson was trying to move her off the block. Hermosa, the biggest player on the floor, quite a bit at 6'5".
Georgia Tech trying to force it into a tight spot there for Blackshear, and eventually poked free by Lawson.
Lawson and Brunel combining to take it away on the baseline out of bounds. Good job defensively in that special situation.
Virginia the three-point lead and the ball. Vaughn looks inside for Clarkson. Working against Hermosa. Nothing there for her. Still forces it up. And it will go back to Georgia Tech here.
And sometimes you just got to kick it out and post up again.
Yeah, Hermosa all over that. And again, that's a veteran presence. One of the returning starters who has fallen out of the starting lineup, but still can contribute valuable minutes for Georgia Tech, particularly with defensive efforts like that.
She was averaging 11 and 6 last year. So far this year, only 5 and 5. Don't think anybody anticipated that.
Jackson's three is up and good. And how about this, Mac? We got an even ball game with about 4.5 remaining in the opening half.
Jackson shoots at almost 40% from three-point land. Doesn't take a whole lot of them because she's so good at driving the basketball. But we've got us a game.
Yeah, now 33 attempts on the season doesn't seem like a lot when you hold it in comparison to Swartz, 77 attempts for the season. Caden Lawson puts Virginia back in front.
Such a versatile player.
This thing is tightened up. Again, it's been a defensive struggle for most of the early minutes. Morgan's pull-up jumper will even up the game again at 22.
Freshman comes right in and starts right away. It's the number 24 prospect according to ESPN last year. She and Kara Dunn were both highly recruited.
Whistle and a foul away from the ball. Take us to an official timeout on the floor. Scoreless a couple of games ago. Last time out, answered back with 21 points. And tonight, Mac, she's got it going early on for Georgia Tech. 9 points to lead the way. In fact, leads all scorers in this game as Jackson, the now grad student at Georgia Tech, starting to light it up.
Yeah, out of Montgomery, Alabama. Basketball family, mom and dad coaches. And she is nearing that 1,000-point mark.
Yeah, you mentioned the strong basketball bloodlines. Both their parents played at Alabama State and then went on to become the head coaches at Alabama State. Her mom actually still the head women's coach. Dad previously the head men's coach. Safe to say her childhood was filled with plenty of basketball.
She knows something about basketball. Georgia Tech has done a good job out-rebounding Virginia 16-11. And they've also been getting to the free throw line where they've made 5 to Virginia's only 1. That's how they've crawled back in this game.
Free ball on the way and good. Yonta Vaughn, the answer for Virginia. The Wahoos go back up 3 with inside of 3.5 remaining in this second quarter, in which Georgia Tech has been on a bit of a run. And Hermosa trying to answer back but cannot connect. Lawson the rebound. Here comes Virginia with 3:11 to go in the first half. Vaughn thought about another one. Decided against it. Now Taylor, but she traveled. And now it's Virginia maybe, at least in recent memory, guilty of a few more turnovers than the Yellow Jackets. Is perhaps as Georgia Tech starting to clean things up on that end. Virginia becoming guilty.
Yeah, they've also kept Virginia off the offensive glass. They haven't had an offensive rebound in this quarter.
Part of that, Mac, has been McLean stuck on the bench with those 2 fouls from Virginia.
Definite factor.
McLean is the ACC's leader in offensive rebounds per game. Swartz, a nice drive and finish. Think of her as typically more of an outside shooter, but that was a nice take.
Yeah, it really was. She got position, used her body, protected the ball.
And you think about McLean, second in the ACC at 9.9 rebounds per game, averaging better than 4 in the offensive glass. Swartz a 2-on-1 if they hurry. Bounce pass back from Morgan, but Swartz couldn't finish. Blackshear, good job to keep it alive for Georgia Tech.
But also, you see why she's their leading rebounder, hustling from end to end that time.
Morgan just lost it off her foot and out of bounds.
She's laughing. What else can you do?
Well, it was a strong 2-on-1 effort from Swartz and Morgan, but they just couldn't put the ball in the goal, just about everything else but the finish. And now Virginia a chance to stretch the lead.
And Georgia Tech has not scored on a fast break tonight. Give Virginia a lot of credit for that. That might change right here.
Blackshear. She heard you, Coach.
She did.
Well, timeout taken by Coach Mox here. And this will take us to a quick timeout on the floor. Right back to JPJ in just a moment as the Yellow Jackets have sprung in front.
See some of that athleticism getting in the passing lane, and then Blackshear sprinting to the other end ahead of Brunel.
Blackshear back into the starting lineup tonight. Had not been there since the 4th game of the season. Cameron Taylor's jumper off the mark. And Blackshear tracks down the board.
Not sure that was the shot Coach Mox was looking for based on the look on her face when that went off the rim.
Yellow Blackshear again for Georgia Tech now. Hermosa. Jumper off the mark. Here's Alexia Smith. Speaking of players that want to push the tempo, now Lawson for 3. That's good.
That's such a good job. Didn't have the numbers, penetrated, flattened out the defense, and then found the open three-point shooter. Great job by Alexia Smith.
Again, Smith back into the starting lineup tonight. Just her second start of the season for Virginia. Swartz. Nice job coming off the screen, gives it up to the corner, and that's going to be a nice friendly roll there for Inez Naredo. Her first shot and first bucket of the night.
She can really shoot the basketball. She can also study. She's got a major that I can't even understand. Biological medical engineering.
You and me both, sir. That's why we do what we do. Yeah, biomedical engineering in my mind is too many different studies for my brain to even understand what it is, much less to take a class in it. Georgia Tech holding for the final shot. Jackson, who's been excellent in this half, from the left side, and she can't get the shot to go, but does have free throws upcoming. Let's talk more on Bianca Jackson here, Coach. She's been very impressive tonight for this Georgia Tech team. And, oh, by the way, she came in 14 points shy of 1,000 for her collegiate career. Well, so far tonight, she has crept even closer. 9 so far and a chance to make it 11 at the end of this trip.
And an excellent free throw shooter, as we documented earlier, over 81%.
What's impressed you tonight about what you've seen from Jackson in person?
Well, I think the fact that they just kept playing through what was a rough patch for them. You know, they didn't let it bother them, and they continued. Both teams have really continued to play hard on the defensive end, even when they're not having a lot of success on offense.
Valladay charging into the front court with 2 seconds. Kicks out Lawson, the hoist at the buzzer. That won't go down, and we have a 3-point game at the end of 20 minutes of action here.
And defense was the theme of the night. Although both teams got going a little bit from long range. Great play right here. Penetrate, kick to Lawson for the trail 3. And then the kick out to the corner to the freshman Naredo with the friendly bounce. All 20 minutes, you have to like Virginia's chances. She gets further foul trouble, it's going to be hard.
Again, in the Duke game, 16 minutes were a season low for McLean, and she was only able to play 5 in the opening half, as you saw there, because of the couple of quick fouls. Valladay looking inside for Taylor, but threw it away.
That was a set play for Valladay to go to the hole, and Jackson did a nice job of cutting her off. Actually, check that. It was Tony Morgan cutting her off.
Jackson gets it right back from Swartz, and she is bumped and fouled by Cameron Taylor there. And that is going to be the second on Taylor.
One thing we didn't expect, James, was the rebound situation. Georgia Tech with a 22-13 margin and 5-3 on the offensive glass. Virginia did not get an offensive rebound in the second 15 minutes of the first half.
Now, we talked about it a little bit in the first half, but Virginia playing most of the first half without their leading rebounder in McLean. And frankly, Coach, because of the individual efforts she can make to get to so many balls, you've got to believe that was a huge statistical factor in Virginia's rebounding deficit. Swartz, the fadeaway jumper, and McLean, I mean, again, even as that ball trailed away from her, she's able to get a hand on it there, a play that most players would probably be turning and watching the ball bounce, but she's just so athletic that she was even able to make an effort on that.
She stayed up in the air and still got a hand on the ball.
It's incredible. Some of her mid-air adjustments can boggle the mind. Jackson to inbound. Finds Blackshear wide open in the paint. Looks like maybe a missed assignment there for Virginia, but Blackshear couldn't finish the bunny. Now Valladay spinning around at the ACC logo and trying to give it off to McLean. Shuffled her feet, and it'll go back to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, turnovers kept going on in that second quarter. Each team had 5 in the second quarter, but like you saw on our graphic, 21 combined turnovers.
Again, a bevy of turnovers early from Georgia Tech. They were able to slow down a little bit in that department, not stop altogether, but at least got a hold of it, it seemed. Meanwhile, Virginia's turnovers began to creep up, and now Virginia has committed 11 to Georgia Tech's 12. Wonadonaz, the kick out. Morgan trying to give it back to her, and does for the finish.
Adonaz only played 3 minutes in that first half after getting the start in the last several games.
It was surprising, Coach, and you pointed it out to me at some point during one of the breaks, and I didn't really have an answer for it. It's not as if she was in foul trouble. Taylor on the drive, couldn't finish. McLean pulls down the rebound. And it will be an inbound underneath. And there's McLean, as advertised, ripping down the offensive rebound. Well, they gave the offensive rebound to Brunel in the stats. I got to believe that's an error. But the point being that it's something Virginia has been able to do a good job of this season, in large part because of McLean's effort.
Yeah, we mentioned they lead the ACC in offensive rebounds per game, which has really helped them because they have struggled shooting the ball, especially from long range. 3 for 5 that first half helped them a little bit.
Jackson lofts out top for Morgan. Tony Morgan, the pull-up, just inside the foul line and gets the bucket. Georgia Tech has suddenly extended it to a 7-point lead, Coach, their largest of the game.
And they're doing a nice job of being patient on offense.
McLean, a nice take.
Big answer right there for Virginia. Needed that bucket.
You know, again, if she can stay on the floor, she has a chance certainly to take over this game.
Adonaz with the illegal screen that time. She picked up 2 quick fouls here in the second half.
Yeah, I mentioned she hardly played in the first half, but wasn't because of foul trouble. No. Both of her fouls have come early in this third quarter. Traveling violation on Caden Lawson to give it back to Georgia Tech.
Like you mentioned, quite a few of the turnovers have not been of the forced variety. Self-inflicted wounds. This is a little play for Swartz and a really good job by Alexia Smith.
With 2 defenders in her face, Swartz 3 off the mark, but the offensive rebound for Georgia Tech, who will be called for the over and back here. Feed out from Wonadonaz, missed the target of Jackson, and it's back to the Hoos.
Georgia Tech runs a little fade screen for Swartz, then re-screens and brings her back, and then they get her the ball. If she doesn't have the shot, then they do a ball screen for her. Smith did a good job of contesting all of that.
McLean spinning. Another nice take and incredible finish from Mir McLean as she hits the deck. McLean with a couple of buckets here over the last minute for Virginia.
Well rested and going to make the most of it.
No question. Lawson the near steal, but Morgan able to recollect there. Now Jackson from the opposite corner. Bianca Jackson now 1 point away from the 1,000 mark for her career.
It's almost incomprehensible how she did not score a point at Boston College.
Yep.
She is so talented.
Again, last time out against Furman on 8 of 12 shooting, finished with 21 points. And that was the Bianca Jackson that fans of the three schools she's played at have known to come and love. Speaking of lighting up the box score, how about Mir McLean here over the last minute, Coach? Another one, and this time an opportunity for the and one.
Just take over the game, young lady. Spin move right here, plays through the contact. And then the offensive rebound, and again, up through traffic, and one.
Fired up, and understandably.
Coach Mock's going to the bench early and often, both halves, keeping everybody rested. We'll see if that pays dividends down the stretch.
Well, part of it, again, forced her hand with the foul trouble, but even still, McLean obviously has fresher legs than just about anybody else in the court.
Yeah. And her legs at any time are probably better than most people on the court. She is one of the best athletes in the league for sure.
UConn transfer. Possession again gives to Brunel. In close quarters working with McLean. Smith the pull-up. That's good. Virginia collectively catching a little fire here.
That was a really good job of sharing the basketball, being patient, deep in the shot clock, no panic for the veteran Smith, the transfer from Minnesota.
Virginia within one. Swartz hit and fouled as she shoots again.
You mentioned it.
I don't think I've ever seen a jump shooter like this.
She's really clever at getting fouled.
The number of fouls she draws from such great distance from the basket, you just don't see it.
And like you also mentioned, she's so good at the free throw line.
It feels like automatic points just by way of making it to the free throw line.
Yeah, Georgia Tech in that first half, +6 on the free throw line, +6 made from the free throw line. That was a big part of their comeback.
Yeah, Swartz in her homecoming of sorts, the ACC opener against Boston College, made 9 free throws. Even as she struggled mightily from the floor, she's able to make up with it. Case in point there, 2 for 2 from the line, and Swartz remains perfect for the evening from the foul line.
And she's got a great motor. She is constantly in motion.
McLean underneath, another bucket.
And again, I think through contact.
Swartz, the 3 on the other end, too strong. Valladay is going to get the rebound. 2-on-1 with McLean. Valladay all the way in and had it poked away cleanly by Jackson. So that'll take us to a timeout on the floor. It's a 1-point game here in Charlottesville. In this third quarter, just get her the ball and let her go to work, Coach. She is doing just about everything for the Hoos right now.
Didn't get to play much in the first half, but she is making up for it. 4 for 4, 1 for 1 from the free throw line. She's thrown a couple rebounds in, and she has taken over this game on the offensive end.
Well, you see, because of the 2 quick fouls, she was limited to 5 minutes in the opening half. But, boy, she put in some quick work in the third quarter. Speaking of quick work, how about Smith quickly getting around the defender and finishing to put Virginia back in front by a point.
Coach Mox inserting her into the starting lineup was a brilliant move, wasn't it?
Yeah, I tell you what, Smith, I mean, you really drew my attention as Blackshear's going to draw the foul and get a couple of free throws. Coach, you drew my attention to what Smith does on the defensive end because she really is quite the presence.
Yeah, and she can guard about any position. She's strong enough to guard a taller player, quick enough to guard a point guard, and she's always around the basketball. And as you get into league play and games get a little tighter and possessions get a little fewer, somebody who's strong like that really makes a difference.
You know, what she's done on the offensive end is sort of spoken for itself in this game, but I'm glad you sort of trained my brain to key in on her defensively because she has been impressive. I got to believe that based on her performance tonight, Coach, she has probably locked down a spot, at least for the next game, if not beyond, in the starting lineup.
No, she fits good, and again, she gives you another ball handler out there.
Yep. McLean, the head fake from 3. You can see Georgia Tech's defense really collapsing on McLean. Valladay on the drive and the finish. A lot of contact, but still gets it to go.
That's a great move. Leaning in with the body. Really kind of rested on the defense and threw it in the basket off the glass. Good play by the veteran Valladay.
See if Georgia Tech can either get Jackson back in the mix or get Swartz going. Jackson wants the 3. Too short. Love fighting for the rebound. McLean finds it.
McLean was contesting that shot by Jackson.
Valladay eyeing the 3. Thought better of it.
They're matched up again on the other end. Jackson against McLean down low, and McLean is wanting the basketball down on the block.
The battle of tens. Clarkson bumps off of Blackshear and finishes.
Another Florida State transfer.
Yeah, an FSU transfer on both of these rosters. Plus a player on Georgia Tech from Tallahassee who went to Florida State University High School.
Yeah, does that count?
She was a Seminole. There's Love spinning in the paint, blocked away by Clarkson.
Love's first action didn't go well.
Shot erased on the other end as it was Jackson with the block but guilty of the foul. There's a look at Clarkson coming over.
Nice move, but so many shots are blocked by not your man, but by the help defender, and that was a good explanation right there of what happened. Or a good example. The explanation was mediocre.
I was going to say, if you were crediting me, then couldn't have been that strong. First free throw from Miller is up and good. Saw Miller take that shot to the nose in the first quarter. Was nice to see that she was only sidelined briefly before returning to this game. Missed on the second. There's McLean, the offensive board and the stick back. That is vintage Mir McLean right there, Mac.
She just figured it out. Stay on the floor. I can make a big difference.
What a dominant force she has been in this third quarter for Virginia, who have built up a 7-point lead now.
She has turned this game around by herself. That is a third foul on McLean down low, though.
I'm going to say, it was away from the ball. She got tangled up. I don't know exactly what transpired. I know what took place here. That was great positioning to grab the rebound and the stick back. Gets her head coach fired up.
She beat Hermosa off the block. Hermosa had the inside position. This time she got tangled up on the duck end down low. Got the foul called on her.
And again, the only thing that's been able to slow her down has been foul trouble. Valladay leaping for the steal. Blackshear in pursuit from behind. Smith the crossover, and she was fouled by Hermosa. Free throws upcoming for Alexia Smith.
It's a nice move in transition before the defense gets set.
See Smith, limited trips. And the first one rims in and out, no good. Well, every Sunday afternoon, we have women's basketball on ACC Network and the ESPN app. This week, the game start at noon Eastern. Next week, it's the same, but featuring these two. Haley Van Lith in Louisville. They host Pitt at 2 Eastern. Then it's number 5 Notre Dame and number 13 North Carolina. Sunday afternoons are for women's basketball on ACC Network.
Her name is for real. Olivia Miles is so much fun to watch.
All poked free by Valladay. It'll stay with the Yellow Jackets. And there's a finish for the freshman Tony Morgan. The thing I'm trying to figure out with Notre Dame, Coach, how do they still have a Mabry on the roster? How is that possible? It seems illegal.
They've still got one on the roster and one on the bench, too.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, some topsy-turvy ball here, but Smith is going to clean it up at the end for 2 more for Virginia.
Smith down, may have rolled an ankle, or well, I don't want to speculate.
I'll tell you what. Well, Virginia has built up an 8-point lead. Coach Mox cannot enjoy how often Lydia Johnson, her athletic trainer, has had to make her way onto the floor. You did see Smith give a little smile there to Coach Mox. So
this was an ugly series right here.
Yep.
Until Smith got the ball.
Yep.
Then it turned into a really nice play. It's a little awkward landing. But if she was smiling, that's good news.
Yes, and she was able to make her way back off the floor under her own power. So getting a little bit of attention on that ankle now, but does not appear, Coach, again, like you said, don't want to speculate, but did not appear to be too bad, and expect to see her return. Now, Valladay, nice kick out. Miller on the head fake, steps inside the arc and buries the jumper.
The senior, like you said, she has seen it all, and she is enjoying this renovation of the program, if you will.
And now a double-digit point lead for the Hoos. Whistle on a foul underneath. It's Clarkson. Virginia's offense just really clicking right now, Mac.
Yeah, and it was all sparked by Mir McLean.
You know, and this is where the foul trouble in the first half limited her so much she was never able to put her stamp on the game in the opening 20 minutes. Here in the third quarter, even though she has been charged with her third foul, that has again sent her to the bench as Hermosa makes good on the first free throw. You could still feel that the energy that she brought and the difference that she made has carried over to her teammates.
No question. She went out. They were +7. They're +8 now. They've been able to maintain that lead. And she's perfect from the field. 11 points, all in the third quarter.
Chance to stretch it back out here for Virginia. They find Miller again, and she was fouled, hit on the arm. The jumper wouldn't go down, but Carol Miller back to the free throw line again.
Nice little screen for Miller to come to the top, got her open.
Miller, who has been a regular in the starting lineup throughout her career. In fact, started every game last season. Only her and Amadine Tois, the two players who started every game last season. And this season, started the first couple games, has been coming off the bench since. But again, Coach, if she can really take hold of that sixth man role for this team, what a valuable veteran presence she can be. And, I mean, you can see what she's done in this third quarter. So steady, but on the offensive end, I mean, her IQ of where she needs to be, what she needs to do on every play, she's a pretty darn good shooter as well.
Yeah, on both ends of the floor. She is just really solid. And you could, like we talked about before, you can plug her in anywhere.
Crowd getting into it is Georgia Tech, winding the clock down on this third quarter. The Who's lead by 10. Tony Morgan, fouled by Miller. Now with just under 6 seconds to go in the quarter, free throws here for Georgia Tech.
Virginia in this quarter has almost equaled their first half production.
Two for two for Tony Morgan. And see if Virginia can get one final quality look here. Valladay hustling into the front court. Valladay all the way down the paint, but couldn't finish. And that'll put a bow on this third quarter. And what a third quarter it was for the Who's. The Wahoos have built up an 8-point lead to carry into the final quarter, Coach.
Only scored 28 points in the first half, 27 points here in the third quarter to blow this thing open. Yeah, that was the golden era for UVA basketball. And where's Debbie Ryan, along with a lot of great players like Wendy Palmer, dominated this league for a long time.
Cool to have her in the building this evening. Saw her talking to Virginia's athletic director, Carla Williams, pregame. And know she's got many a fan in this building. So Georgia Tech now back within 6 as we get this fourth quarter underway. McLean, as expected, back on the floor. Again, has 3 fouls. Good job by Virginia to keep it alive. Brunel steps in and did draw the foul.
And Hermosa involved on both ends of the floor. She has such a size advantage. They went to her on the first possession, coming out of the quarter break, and then she picks up the foul on the other end. But I would look for them to go more inside when they have the opportunity. She picked up a foul right there and was replaced by Adonis.
Which again, we have not seen all too much of Aisha Won-Adonis in this game. Just 6 minutes of action. Brunel's first free throw is good, and got to make a point here about Brunel at the free throw line. Have you been tracking?
Made 17 in a row,
incredible.
Finally missed one at Duke. Now she's on another streak.
I mean, it's incredible, and she does not have quite enough free throw attempts to qualify for the league lead, but entered tonight 21 of 22. A crisp 95.5% at the free throw line. The percentage that virtually every basketball coach believes every single one of their players should shoot at the free throw line.
No question.
Somehow they can't understand how anyone would shoot something that does not start in the 90s. Whistle and a block against McLean, and that's going to be her 4th. And the Virginia crowd can't believe it. The Virginia bench can't believe it. Obviously, McLean disagreed. That's a huge call here.
Yeah, and she is so good at taking the charge. See if she gets there. Bang, bang, play. A little bit of flipper with the right arm. Still, this is exactly why it's the hardest call in basketball.
Free throw good for Blackshear.
Now, how does Virginia react to McLean going back to the bench with possibly a 6-point lead?
You know, and again, it's A, who's going to step up on the offensive end, but also you got to imagine that breathes some life into Georgia Tech here, Coach. they're obviously aware of the situation as well and how dominant McLean has been when she's been on the floor. A turnover here to give it back to the Yellow Jackets. And Laredo couldn't finish. Battle for the loose ball. Miller will collect and wisely slow it down here for UVA.
Yeah, just pick it up. Just grab the basketball.
And a blocking foul against Blackshear here. Virginia will inbound right to the glass.
They're calling that a shooting foul.
Well, she did make an effort to throw it in the general direction of the basket.
Also a 67% free throw shooter.
First one rims in and out, no good. Taylor the rebound and the foul.
She does some things sometimes you just say, wow. And then occasionally she does something you say, whoa, but this was a wow. McLean says, yes.
I've been there.
Yes, yes. That's exactly what she was thinking.
Free throw good for Taylor. Unsurprisingly, Georgia Tech going to get Jackson back into the game. You'd expect for the entirety of the remaining 8.5 minutes, which begs the question, Coach, did you have a time in mind, a player of McLean's caliber with 4 fouls? What was that number you were waiting to get her back in the game?
It totally depended on how the game was going. And if it was not going poorly, it was a little higher number than if it was going well.
Blackshear had it knocked away out of bounds.
Crucial couple minutes here for Georgia Tech.
No question about it. Virginia has found a way to extend that lead back up to 9 points. And Miller comes away with it. Virginia will get the basketball. Now, I think that was the right ruling there, as the shot clock expired before she had actually picked up the ball.
Right. Yeah, nobody had possession of the ball. It was the right call. Not popular here behind us, though.
Right. Well, it's obviously an awkward-looking play to see that play blown dead after Virginia comes away with possession. But either way, they'll have a chance to talk it over. We'll come back. Virginia in front by 9. Has been dominant on the offensive glass. It has paid huge dividends in this second half, Coach.
Yeah, +6 on the backboard in this second half, making up that almost an even game in the rebound margin now, and 8 points off of offensive rebounds in the second half.
It has been a really strong showing for Coach Mox's team, and again, especially in that third quarter, a dominant offensive showing in the third quarter that saw Virginia put up 27 points. After, as you pointed out, having scored 28 in the entirety of the first half in this game. Lawson on the drive down the right side. A little bit of a wild shot attempt, and possession will go back to Georgia Tech now.
Yeah, clearly they liked that matchup. Came to it and on the after timeout play right there. But Georgia Tech did a good job of contesting the shot. And then Taylor over the back for the foul on the offensive rebound.
Foul underneath, away from the ball. Cameron Taylor was arguing as if she thought it should have gone to one of her teammates, but looks like Taylor has been saddled with her 4th as well. So now 2 Who's with 4 fouls.
She's on both ends. Again, Swartz drawing a foul. No surprise there.
Yeah. Bianca Jackson. The biggest thing right now, though, Coach, is Georgia Tech needs to buy a bucket.
Yeah, and that was not a great shot. Miller did a good job defending that.
Whistle and a foul as Miller knocked to the deck.
Yeah, Tony Morgan, you can see she runs track, does a little bit of everything. You see her athleticism, but she gets called for the foul right here. She thought she had all ball. No, little body right there.
It was interesting to see her teammate, her veteran teammate, Bianca Jackson, pleading the case to the official on her behalf rather than forcing the freshman to take up the argument.
Jackson, veteran spokesperson.
Yes, exactly. But again, coach's daughter, she probably knows how to work the system as well. There's an art to it. Jackson directing traffic. Again, it's just the Georgia Tech team that needs a bucket out of the flow of the offense. They have really struggled of late to run through the offense and get a clean look out of it. Swartz forced to hoist up the buzzer beater and able to knock it down. But again, it's not exactly a smooth flow to the offense there.
No, takes tough shots, makes tough shots. But you don't want to count on that percentage-wise.
Larson lost the handle. Able to retrieve and feed off to Valladay, but she threw it away. Now the Yellow Jackets want to run with Jackson. Swartz from three. That's good. Georgia Tech a little bit of a run.
Jackson has picked up her 14th points too, so she now has 1,000 for her career.
Georgia Tech back within 5 as things get interesting. As the shot clock winding down, and then from long range, and all of a sudden the Yellow Jackets right back into it, Coach.
Yeah, the leading scorer, such a good scorer. She has shot so many free throws. She shot over 80 free throws, which is 47% of the whole team.
It is remarkable, and we've touched on it a couple of times, but so many of those come from fouls she draws with long-distance jump shots. It is an interesting art, but it's something she's mastered nonetheless. McLean, meanwhile, back onto the floor for Virginia. Through some contact, couldn't finish there. Has to be a little bit careful, playing with 4 fouls.
Smart, she's on the floor with 4, but Taylor is not. They're not out there together. And guess who's on the floor? Karen Swartz is so good at drawing the foul.
She also looked like she might have been hopping a little bit walking away from that play.
She ends up on the floor a lot. Watching their game at Boston College, of course, you mentioned that. An emotional game for her. Went to the free throw line, like you mentioned, 9 times in that game.
Entered tonight just under 86% from the foul line, and a perfect 5 of 5 so far tonight. Some of the wild shots she puts up, she's so good at turning them into shots in which she is fouled, and that translates to trips to the foul line, and when you get a shoot at almost 90%.
Where will Virginia go with this 3-point lead?
A look inside to McLean, and an easy finish for Mir McLean. Give her 2 more. As McLean leading Virginia now with 13 points tonight.
13 points in 15 minutes of play. It's pretty efficient.
Yeah. She has hit her average with the 13 points tonight, or most of the answer on the other side.
Yeah, she's the 4th Georgia Tech player to be in double figures now.
Balanced attack from the Yellow Jackets. Valladay couldn't finish, got her own rebound, and second effort wouldn't go. McLean's 3rd effort is blocked away, taken by Jackson.
Good defense right there for Georgia Tech. Challenging shots.
You mentioned 4 players in double figures for Georgia Tech. Balanced attack in that respect. you could argue very balanced for Virginia as well. Every player who has seen the floor has scored in this game for UVA.
Yeah, that's happened several times this season.
Ball stolen away by Valladay. Virginia does not have numbers, but still will push. Here is Smith, who wisely backs it away. And Valladay to reset the offense.
Blocked shot on the other end by Miller.
Brunell spinning and finishes. Nice touch from Sam Brunell. Much needed bucket there for the Hoos.
Veteran player has been in that situation so many times for Notre Dame. Now she's back here near her hometown.
Morgan driving baseline. Off the bottom of the glass, no good. Miller hustling for it. We'll have a tie-up. And the possession arrow favors Virginia.
It's a nice move. When you catch the ball in the post, you want to take your time. You don't have to hurry. Know where the defense is. Protect the basketball. Veteran play by the grad student.
Brunell and Swartz doing much the same for their respective programs. Transferring back near their hometowns. Brunell, the step back three off the mark. Hermosa collects the rebound.
Georgia Tech. Will Jackson be involved in this? Or is it Swartz again?
You got to figure it's going to end up in one of their hands. Jackson, defended by Miller, looks inside for Hermosa, but she traveled.
Take your time once you get to the post. You don't have to be in a hurry. She caught the ball in really good position. She posted up deep in the lane.
So we go inside of 3 minutes in regulation, a 5-point ball game. Now does Virginia, as we were talking about for Georgia Tech, with Swartz and Jackson find McLean. They do, but she can't finish from up close. Here come the Yellow Jackets again. Chance to chip away at that lead even farther. Jackson around the Hermosa screen. Too strong, and McLean rips down the rebound. The 9th rebound of the game for McLean, who takes it coast to coast but can't finish. Couple of uncharacteristic misses from McLean from up close in the last 2 possessions.
Point blank. It's so hard to come in and out of the game like she's done, though.
Cavalier faithful. Ratcheting up the noise now. Swartz on the drive. And it's going to be a block on McLean, and that will be number 5.
What a huge play. McLean with the 5th foul. Swartz going back to the free throw line where she's almost automatic with the chance to cut it to 3 under 2 minutes. And she was late getting there.
Yep.
She really does a good job of taking charges. That time she was just a little bit late getting there.
She gets a nice round of applause from the fans, well-deserved. And also, I got some kudos from Coach Mox for Virginia as she made her way to the bench. I mean, you don't want to coach the aggressiveness out of McLean, even on the defensive end. And a player of her caliber at drawing charges just a tick late that time.
Not at all. She's the reason they're ahead in this game.
Yeah. See if Virginia can make this possession count as Georgia Tech now back within 4.
See which matchup they decide to go to.
Smith looking inside for Brunell, nothing there. Now Taylor, who has just returned.
Taylor's quicker than Hermosa.
Spinning and can't finish. Smith comes away with the rebound, however, off the deflection from Hermosa.
Smith, right spot, right time all night long.
That is the truth. Valladay. Almost looked like Valladay was seeing if she could create a little space. Now she's going to have to launch from 3. That's too strong. And Jackson tracks down the board for Georgia Tech. Here we go. 4-point game. Bianca Jackson kicks to Swartz. Nell Fortner wants a timeout. Boy, this thing getting interesting, Coach.
Little chess match here. Nell Fortner says, I'm going to tell you exactly what I want, where this shot is coming from, and who's going to take it.
Well, as Mir McLean has just fouled out of this ball game for Virginia. Again, limited to 5 minutes in the opening half because of the 2 quick fouls. But Mir McLean, in this second half, Coach, she completely took over for Virginia. And you said, as I mentioned, Coach Mox giving her some kudos on her way to the bench after fouling out. Well-deserved, because she is unequivocally the reason Virginia leads.
11 points in that third quarter really gave them a spark. On the way to scoring 27 points like we've talked about, 1 point short of what they had the entire first half. And she was also doing a good job of guarding Bianca Jackson, too.
A little scrum off the inbound. Possession's going to go back to Virginia, although the refs have indicated they want to take a second look at it here as we are inside of 2 minutes.
Yeah, I thought they called a jump ball, but then they indicated that the person who, Toni Morgan, was out of bounds as she tied up the basketball that time. But this is one they can review inside the last 2 minutes of the game.
The ruling on the court. Come on. The ruling on the court is Virginia basketball. The play is under review for the out of bounds.
Well, we heard the officials doing the microphone check pregame, and now the entire building knows exactly what they are reviewing.
I like the fact that they can communicate.
Yeah. You see Toni Morgan wincing a little bit there in some pain as she collided with Cameron Taylor.
When did they call the jump ball will be the...
Yep. Well, you see Morgan, that right hand in the scrum, holding on to the ball, but you can also see her left shoulder writhing in some pain. It's going to be literal insult to injury if not only does she have to come out of the game, but also possession does indeed go back to Virginia.
Yeah, and it's really a close call as to when they blew that whistle, because it's Georgia Tech's ball on the jump ball. And if Morgan was ruled out of bounds as she forced the jump ball, then obviously it goes the other way.
This will be a big swing as you're... And now we get another look
on the court stands. The game clock is reset to
a little bit earlier in the sequence.
Basketball.
And again, with just 4 points separating the two teams, huge to have heard the officials say that the ruling will stand, because Virginia getting the ball back inside of a minute to go. Every possession so pivotal with just the 4 points separating the two teams.
Yep. Georgia Tech has a chance to set up full court right here.
They will get Kara Dunn, the freshman, back into the game. First action in a while for her.
Yep. Replacing Morgan.
Alexia Smith now off for Brunel. Hand off to Valladay. Valladay on the drive. Fouled on the floor. Or will they say, well, it doesn't matter. It was the fifth foul of the quarter for Georgia Tech. So 2 free throws now for Taylor Valladay.
Morgan coming back in. She had her hand wrapped to replace her fellow freshman Dunn, who hasn't played an awful lot tonight.
Now, Dunn has had some impressive games this season. 3 double-digit efforts, including 11 points in that game at Boston College, in which, yeah, she looked very strong, but just limited action tonight.
Talked about her mom playing at Georgia, played in the Final Four in 1995. She was a college coach and then her high school coach.
Free throw here for Valladay. Rims in and out, no good. So a 5-point game as Georgia Tech hustles back into the front court with Jackson. Jackson either looking to create some space or to find Swartz, and she will launch from 3 off the mark. Blackshear trying to save it. Does to Morgan, who can't finish. Second effort will go for Tony Morgan. Took a decent amount of time off the clock, and Nell Fortner will call timeout here for Georgia Tech.
Blackshear and Morgan hustling right there. Did a good job of keeping that alive, but like you said, took quite a bit of time off the clock. Now you have no shot clock and you're down by 3.
Obviously, if you're Virginia, the first choice is to have made the 2 free throws, but even still, you would trade how much time it took for Georgia Tech to get the 2 here and how much time came off the clock before Morgan ultimately put it back up and in. 3-point game, however.
Started looking at Virginia free throw shooters. Valladay at 60%. Alexia Smith hadn't missed coming into tonight. Brunell, we know how good she is.
Yeah. Virginia does have some very good options.
Taylor at 73%. Lawson, 67%. Valladay statistically is who you would foul.
You would think because of Valladay's quickness, Coach, she would have to be one of the players on the floor as opposed to inbounding the basketball.
Yeah, unless you throw it in and kick it right back to her. That's something that a lot of coaches like to do too. But yeah.
You need someone, but again, if she is the option that Georgia Tech would be targeting to foul.
Georgia Tech is getting the benefit of another timeout here. Virginia wants to make sure they're in the right spots against this press. And Georgia Tech, will they foul right away or will they try to trap and get a steal, then foul? They probably don't have much time to waste unless they can steal the ball on the inbounds pass. They probably have to foul right away regardless of who gets the basketball. And, of course, Virginia advanced it to the front court.
Right. You know, it's a rule that's been in place for years now, yet still somehow every time it happens, it feels relatively new, the advancement of the ball.
I like the rule.
Yeah.
I think the men are making a mistake.
Dangerous inbound attempt to Brunell, tied up in the corner and fouled. And Tony Morgan arguing that it should have been a jump ball and not a foul.
It was a good plan to get the ball to Brunell, but like you said, it ended up being a kind of a contested pass.
The foul goes on Dunn.
Couldn't pick a better person for Virginia to be at the free throw line in this situation.
No question. And for Brunell tonight, 2 of 2 from the line so far. First one is good. It entered this game tonight, 21 of 22 for the season. And the second free throw, just like the first, is perfect. So now Brunell, 25 of 26 on the year.
Georgia Tech has to score in a hurry. Virginia picks up, tries to slow the progress down the court a little bit, and they have lots of time coming off this clock.
No secret about the fact Georgia Tech trying to get it to Swartz. It's Jackson forcing it up from deep, missed everything and out of bounds. And how about the effort Virginia made to keep the ball out of the hands of Cameron Swartz there?
Comes down to defense, and Virginia did a really good job. Lawson was in the game just for that purpose.
Now Virginia fans can taste it now. 5.5 seconds separating Virginia from victory tonight. They'll get it into Cameron Taylor. Gives back to Lawson, who is fouled. A little over 3 seconds remaining.
A really good bounce back win for Virginia.
No question about it.
And it wasn't easy. They had to go through a lot. McLean in foul trouble again. Georgia Tech with a big second quarter. But Virginia answered the bell.
Lawson cannot get the friendly bounce there.
In front of a really good crowd here.
No question. On their feet, appreciative of the effort from Coach Mox's team. 1 of 2 from the line for Lawson. Last second heave by Morgan off the mark in Virginia. Like you said, Coach, a great bounce back win for the Hoos this evening. They've got their second conference win of the season in the books and a 69-63 win over Georgia Tech tonight.
We talked about how a team would react to the time off, but also in factoring into that was how Virginia was going to react to the first loss of the season.